Well, good evening, folks. This is Dave Schmidt. I'm your host here again tonight on the Cosmic Connections. It's nice to be back. I'd had a 2 week break, so hold on here just a second. Yes, we are live there on Facebook, and so we're up to speed there. There's about a 30-second delay there. I was a little bit late coming into that, but all is well here. Thank you again for joining me on the program here tonight. What I had mentioned in the newsletter that Blanca and I are going to get into a general discussion of what's going on out there. There's going to be very limited news on the currency exchange again because my sources are in a blackout mode. They cannot talk about it over the telephone to me. And I'm somewhat limited also on what I can say other than the fact that things are progressing. That's about all I can say at this point in time is that yes, things are progressing. But before I get into that, let's go over to Blanca. How are you doing on this fine evening before I get ahead of myself?
I'm doing very well, Dave. It's nice that we've got a show going, saying hello to our friends who are listening, and hopefully everybody's hanging in there, strong-hearted, strong-willed, because we're in for a ride.
We are in for a ride, and as I said, I've kind of been quiet in the last couple of weeks because, my sources have asked me to kind of stay on a low key. Because see, folks, what happens is when I put stuff out on the internet, I come up on what is called their system and I get flagged. And they say, okay, Dave's doing something. We got to go. I mean, these are the cabal people that want to shut us down. So I minimize what I do, but yet I can still do the program. I'm still free at that, but I don't constantly be out there all the time so that I'm not constantly on their screen showing up all the time where I get red flagged by these cabal folks that want to shut us down. But that's what it is, because what I had said about 3 weeks ago was in the currency exchange, remember, it's moving into what is called three stages. And the first stage are what are called the sovereigns. These are the people who are extremely wealthy, who helped get this thing started, and they're at the very, very top. You can call them the whales, whatever it is you want to call it. And money started to move to them, and then they got attacked. So even our system in moving the currency and moving the funds is being attacked from outside sources. So they had to clear that up, clean it up, identify where it was coming from, and be able to fix the process before they could start again. And my understanding is they have started now. Their money is being moved into their accounts, but they can't spend it yet. And I have no idea how long this is going to take, but that's it for now. But I have been saying, well, before I'm starting to get ahead of myself. Blanca, is there anything else that you want to share with us tonight before I start getting into the program here?
No, I was already following what you were saying.
I know.
Let's continue.
Okay. Well, folks, I have been saying, going back 3 and 4 years, before all this money can be released to us, what we need to see is that the current cabal-based deep state, Illuminati, whatever name you want to call it, globalist system, in essence, has to be shut down. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be destroyed, taken out, stuff like that. I use the term they need to be neutered, which means they'll still be out there, but they're neutered and they don't have the power to do what they've been doing to us for basically thousands of years. And this is the era. This is the time when the shift takes place. And what's happening right now with the whole COVID scenario is that's what's beginning to happen. Now, in the program a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned is that it's very, very evident, and this goes back to, it's been being talked about for years. Klaus Schwab is the gentleman in his book. He's the guy that heads up what is called the Davos Forum, what we call the globalist agenda. He's the head of all that. He says we need to go through a depopulation agenda. Why are they saying that? Because what they've been saying is the Earth in its current status is that when you have about half the people in the world living on less than $15 a day, that is rapidly changing. Their lifestyles are changing, and they are going to start moving into what is called our middle class status. So you're not going to have these Western countries that do well, and these extreme poverty countries, they're going to start changing. They're going to start picking up. They're going to start becoming, they are being educated, etc. as they move into middle class standards, it puts such a demand on the resources of the planet that the planet cannot handle that many people demanding on the resources to live that type of a lifestyle. And that's their position. And so that's why they feel there needs to be what is called a depopulation of the earth, because there's too many people to handle a high lifestyle of the resources available on the earth to do that. So it's always been their plan in the back of their mind to be able to go through a form of a depopulation agenda. And there are those that absolutely believe this is it. This is what is doing that. It's this scenario with the COVID, and it's not so much the COVID as it is the vaccine. I've been very clear in my recent programs to say, folks, don't take the shot. You know, the Palladians have been saying it, don't take the shot. You know, Jesus and his channel messages are saying, don't take the shot. And the guy that is the most practical, down to earth that I enjoy, his name is Cliff High. He tells you, don't take it, because he goes into detail. He explains the contents that are within it, what happens when the spike proteins get into you, what it does to your body, what it does to your blood cells. Now, I recently watched a 2-minute video that had what is called the normal red blood cells within a person before, and then it showed the same individual a few days after they had the shot, and their blood cells are coagulating together and they're not in coherency. And you will notice that the vast majority of the people that are getting sick, it's blood-related problems. And the mainstream media hasn't been telling us the full truth about all this, about the vast number of people that are sick and dying that have been vaccinated. And what we're seeing is, again, is this massive push to get the vaccine. Now, I have been a reader of a guy by the name of Ben Fulford for 6 to 8 years, and he's basically a good intelligence person. Ben has said that behind the scenes, what is taking place in Afghanistan is basically a blessing in disguise, because we have what is called these deep state, these globalists that have to be exposed to the world. And he said that the Afghanistan situation is so blowing up on them that it's starting to wake people up. And then also what's happening is, as people start to get extremely sick or they start to die from the vaccine, it's going to create this massive shift, and people are going to start saying, what in the world is going on? And he is also saying that and it's as sad as it is, in the long run, it's going to be the thing that's going to wake up the people, and it's going to put this massive pressure on the media to start telling the truth. They aren't going to be able to hide behind the fake news anymore, because the people will become so revolting, because you see, the people that have taken the vaccine, they've trusted what the media has said. And now when they're going to start realizing their lives are in danger, that creates absolute chaos. The Palladians, through Barbara Messiniak, in a message a couple of weeks ago, said, we are entering into a phase that it's not going to be a pretty picture. It's going to get real ugly over the next couple of months. And the guy that I trust the most, I mentioned to you, is Cliff High. And he's been saying that in his videos now for about a month and a half. He says, what's going to happen is everybody is different. It takes a little longer for some people, but what's going to happen is, for those that have gotten basically, the shot, it's the spike proteins that are in it, that what it does, it breaks down the body's immune system, and so they no longer have their natural immunity, so there's other stuff coming at them. And see, so that's why the CDC isn't reporting that they're dying of COVID, because they're getting other issues that it's coming. But what has happened is the shot that's broken down the immune system. And so that's what's beginning to take place. And then also the shot is creating the blood problems in there as well. It's a combination of those. And what Cliff is projecting is that starting next month in September, we're going to start seeing this. It's going to start accumulating very rapidly. Now, just to give you a little bit of information about Cliff High, he used to work for Microsoft. The guy is an absolute software development expert. And he developed a program that has the ability to go out and totally scan the internet. And he feeds questions and algorithms into it, and it gives him a response back of what the people, what the public, what the general population out there is talking about, not what's coming out of mainstream media. And through this, he makes projections based on his analytical analysis of what's going to take place, based on what the people are saying and what is developing. Here's an example. Back in the 2016 election between Trump and Hillary Clinton, remember everybody was saying Clinton was going to win. She was up in the polls 6 to 8 points. People were all saying that. Nobody was saying Trump was going to win except Cliff High. 3 months before the election, he was projecting that Trump was going to win in a landslide because that's what the people were talking about, not what the media was reporting. And he was the first one to make that huge projection, and he was right on. And that's an analysis of what he does with all of the stuff that comes out. So that's what's developing with Cliff around this stuff and how good he is. Now, what he is saying, and also what the Palladians are saying through Barbara Marciniak, is that we are going through a major shift and change. There's always been this news that we're moving into what is called the age of Aquarius. A major shift in a
what I wanted to do is to finish off on this because we're going to be coming up to this point in time here in September. By the end of September, I think, before the equinox, we'll go into a much more dynamic phase of devolution, and at that point, so much will have already been brought out and changed and so forth. Populace can be expected to be in a giant uproar, and the level of intensity for the emotions is going to be very much like you get on major war events. And so that's what I'm anticipating is we had this rise in emotional tension that came along, took a rise up, and it took this little jog, and then here's the 24th. And it was going to continue at that level for some time. From here, we have this split actually that goes off, and that's the Biden-Harris freak out, okay, because they go into desperation language in a serious way. So we split, we bifurcate. And so the deep state separates as of tomorrow in my running of the data. That's an artificiality that's applied onto a complete universe of stuff that laid over it by my software, which I designed all those years ago, et cetera, et cetera. So it is not to be taken as, absolutely factual or gospel or anything. It's simply an abstraction that's put over an ability to measure some level of emotions percolating through language. And in doing so, I thought that the 24th was going to be this bifurcation point. Now seems it'll probably bifurcate over the FDA announcement because they're going to go and push on the military. They're going to go push, to get as much of this power and stuff as they can while they can. Because right at this moment, right in this period of time here, in these couple of weeks, we're going to have the audits go off and the depopulation agenda become very much more dynamic. That is to say that the depop has, the military part of it now has some understanding of how many people they've got behind them and what's going on, and they're going to start playing that in order to push up the amount. So advertisers will tell you, buy now, hundreds of millions have, buy now. And they'll say, okay, do it because others have done it, therefore you can feel safe in doing so is the idea, but they want you to, it's the herd mentality. Everybody said, that's what Biden's saying. 68% of the country is vaccinated. Well, bullshit. He wants to try and get the more by saying the 68%. So they come up with these numbers. But the devolution people, the military side, know how the populace is feeling, and they've got their own way of measuring emotional tension values and stuff, I'm sure. And I'm quite convinced that over the course of this next month, they are going to augment. They're going to do advertising kind of techniques. They're going to help one group point out many obvious things to that group to other people to whom it's non-obvious. So if you're paying attention to military stuff, you're going to know some details about the military and what's going on that are not obvious to the rest of the normie civilian population. And so the devolution people will have certain people that will start pointing things out. And so this is part of the sparking process, right? The sparking of the change from probability. We've now left probability and we're now into potential. So we know there was a probability for war and that certain things would happen, a probability for devolution. Now we're in the potentiality of it as everything is getting the static charge. And our devolution military people, I'm convinced, no one's told me shit, but I'm convinced over the course of this next month we will find that there will be individuals that seemingly, for whatever personal reason of their own, bring out certain information and it starts taking off within the populace. And this is to gather more of the populace to this particular vision of what's going on, because it is the vision that allows you to do things like win World War II and have VE Day, where everybody cheers and, you know, and it's all done, whew, 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 evil's defeated, all of that, however bogus all of that was. Nonetheless, the populace took real joy out of it because it had been a gigantic achievement, right? The greatest generation had done it. They defeated evil of their generation, of multiple generations, and now life would be good and so on. And it was for the 50s, and then the communists came in and started, the deep state came on in and started taking over everything. This was a plan all along anyway because of the Albert Pike and their planning of the 3 world wars and then the biological weapon and then the mass extermination via that biological weapon. And Trump derailed the nuclear war. They didn't have, Albert Pike had no knowledge of nukes at that time. He just knew they would be inventing more terrible weapons by then. And so it would be a mega war. And then we would have the natural excuse of all these dead bodies lying around for the outbreak of a very virulent disease that would kill off everybody that Albert Pike and his cohort didn't want to have around. And so here we are at this stage now. Anyway, so I think we're going to go dynamic in September. And that by dynamic, I mean that you'll see an entirely different aspect of the relationship of the parties in this war. And that will include for us guys and the normies, all the eyes on the outside of the war, all of the eyes and the minds that are actually participatory, but not being directed, not operators in the sense of doing things, but just self-actualizing. Okay, all of us guys will see more activity and we'll see the mainstream media really start catching shit, okay? All the way through from, I would say probably into this week here. So 24th is tomorrow. Yeah, so probably about Saturday or so it should start showing up. And then they'll degrade even further, much more rapidly as we get into September, to the point where every single day, everything that comes out is negative for the deep state, and there is basically no pushback that is even afforded, text lines on your timeline, because it'll just be swamped with all of this shit coming out about what's going on. Anyway, so this is just to tidy up the last of the video and let you know that, okay, if you're trepidatious, if you're anxious, yeah, there's bad shit. You need to not take me as your savior. You need to get off your ass and be prepared to fight or surrender and die. Your choice. Go ahead, take the shot, and you're going to lose your livelihood and your insurance for your family anyway because you're going to croak, or you won't be able to work. You'll be too ill to work. And that could happen within days, or as you get into that chair, you could have a feeling, and then someone gives you that shot and you don't get up from that chair. Or you're trapped in your body in a zombie state because of neurological damage. You wouldn't believe the number of and the different types of damage that these things are doing to people. So anyway, though, but you could take the vax and you wouldn't have to worry about it. You'd be dead. And your family will get along or not, as the universe decides. But this is where we're at. It's fight or die time. I can't fight for you, so you're going to have to do it on your own. maybe there will be some help. Maybe you can coordinate with other people and get smart and get organized and fight as an organized group. Use that collective thing, get more and more people with you. There's power in numbers. That's what Antifa and all the BLM shit was all about. So get your little cohort at your employment and start feeling people out and seeing how they feel about this shit. And maybe you're all alone, in which case the universe wants you to really learn to toughen up and deal with it. So you don't have to be angry, you don't have to, it's going to tear your livelihood and your family and so on, but you will live. And over the course of the next couple of years, if every one of the realistic doctors that's out there putting out videos is correct, and I am correct, there will be vast numbers of people that will die off, and they will want you to come back because you will be unvaccinated and you can name your ticket, because we're going to get into the same kind of situation as after the first round of the Black Death in what we think of as the Middle Ages, where 1/3 of the working population of serfs died off, but really, realistically, because it killed more men than women, half of the working serf male population died off, and thereafter, any serf could name his price, so to speak. They didn't have collective bargaining or negotiation, so a lot of people got raw deals and stuff, but it changed the global economy, that disease. So we're now in one of those things here, where just the die-off that they've engineered so far is going to change the global economy. And the economy is breaking out now away from the failing financial system. So all the people that are paying attention to money are freaking out. And they're saying, oh my God, what's the deep state doing? Basically, they're starting to recognize that the deep state is there. That's the whole point of all of this, is to focus everybody's attention on the deep state, and so that we can all see it. And once we can see it, then we can dismantle it. So anyway, guys, live long and prosper. I got a lot of stuff to do, but I didn't want to leave you hanging with the other one having to cut off.
So there you go. You got an introduction to Cliff High, and he goes into much, much more detail in his other videos, and he explains it very well. He is so well informed and so well educated about how he explains what's going on. And here's what's interesting. You notice at the end, he said back when they had the Black Plague, it totally changed their economy. Well, that's what's going to happen here again. If he's correct, and the other professional medical people that are coming out and telling the truth of what's happening, we're going to see about 40 to 50% of the global population is not going to be employable. They're either going to die or they're going to be so sick they can't work. That creates a massive collapse to the economy. And what I've always been told now for years is that the money coming from the currency exchange process is what comes in and flushes out the old, corrupt, collapsing system and brings in our new economic system that is people employed, human empowered, not cabal empowered. Because we live in a finance system where basically what we call the cabal, the deep state, has run us into various forms of financial slavery. And that system is going to collapse on their part, and new one is coming in. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, but this is what's coming our way. And folks, I've been saying this now for somewhere between 5 and 7 years, and here we are. Here we are. It's now happening in front of us for those that want to wake up and understand what's taking place. So, buckle your seatbelt, folks. Now, with that, I want to express what I've been saying before. As we start to see this stuff happen, it's extremely important that you keep in control of your own emotional reaction. Palladians, Jesus, and the others, they all say you need to keep yourself operating at a very high, positive, powerful frequency, and you don't fall into fear, anxiety, and judgment of what's taking place. When all hell starts breaking loose, rise above it. Rise above it. Be the positive voice. Be the strong voice. Be the one who can give hope. Don't get caught into the fear, and more than anything, don't get caught into the judgment of judging and having hatred to those who have created the problems. That is what is going to create more problems for you than anything else, is to get into low vibration negative energy within your being. Stay strong, folks. Stay strong. That's extremely important through this whole process. Now, Cliff's saying basically, September, which is only about a week away. Personally, I think it's going to be a little more of a delayed reaction. I think we're going to really start seeing the response starting to take place mid-September. But if he's correct and the others around him are correct, we're going to start seeing the result of how this has been pushed and pushed and pushed on us to get the vaccine, and then the truth is going to start coming out about what is really there. If you want to know about Cliff High, it's Cliff and then High, H-I-G-H. Just Google him. Put Cliff High in there, and it'll bring up his website. It'll bring up all of his videos that he has done, and they're excellent to listen to. Okay, Blanca, what would you like what are your comments that you would like to share with us on that?
Well, as usual, I agree with you that there is going to be a lot happening. Well, a lot's happening already, and it's bizarre. So, for example, the whole Afghanistan thing is just so bizarre. We can't make heads or tails of it, and we don't know what to believe, etc. Well, that's intentional, yes. All right? We always said that this is an information warfare, and the way the matrix has been run is via mind control and propaganda. The good thing about this is that many more people are seeing that. They're understanding that the mainstream media, all of it, everything, whatever is put out is propaganda. And so people are paying less and less attention to that. And so the mind control narratives are not working as much. Now, it's really interesting. You can talk to some people who get it immediately and then some who don't. And you could tell that it is a mind control because some people don't even want to hear it or broach the subject. So I would say don't. Don't. You just pray extra hard for them that perhaps something, the blinders will fall off. It almost feels sometimes, you've seen like horses, they'll put those blinders on the side. Yeah. And it's like these people, yes, when I get that sort of look, it's like, don't you dare remove those blinders. I just want to look ahead, take a walk, I'll go ahead and muzzle myself and not ask any questions. And, don't take these blinders off is kind of what it feels like. And in a way, if you, all of a sudden you do that to a horse, they could get a little disoriented and even panic. So I can understand from their point of view why they're that way. But mind control is not going to win the day. Right now you want to be as alert and as aware and in touch with what's going on because really the matrix is coming down, folks, which is great. Yep. But we got to make sure that we're in a position where we can start, adapting to the new, formulating the new the way we want to. The new matrix is going to have its challenges, all right? But the new matrix is going to require all these frequencies that Dave and I've been talking about in terms of freedom, forgiveness, compassion, wisdom, appreciation, abundance. All those things are going to be possible. But if we're still in a low frequency state, which is very challenging because what we're going to see is going to get worse. I agree with you, Dave, on that. Yeah. It's going to be a lot, very, very challenging. And so we just have to, it's almost like we're going to have to pass that final test that we have mastered our consciousness, yes. And that mind control is not going to work on us.
This is almost the classic case of collective cognitive dissonance for those that don't want to believe it. The truth is such a shock. It is so painful to admit what they have missed that they just don't even want to look at it, so they just ignore it and move on. And cognitive dissonance always has its ramifications. And there comes a point in time when people begin to wake up. And when they wake up, it's a shocking process. And so that's what we're going to see. Because usually, before you begin to wake up, in that process, the first thing is that you're extremely angry and pissed off because you've been lied to where it may cost your life. And now, there have been videos out there about antidotes of what to do if you've taken the shot and how you can, completely heal yourself of it. Just go on Google and look for it because they're out there. But remember, you won't find it in the mainstream media, but they are out there. And it's basically what basically is going to, neutralize, if that's the appropriate term, the spike proteins that are in the shot. So, okay. Well, Blanca, is there anything else that we want to share before we go in and then see if some people might want to call in and make some comments?
Right. Well, I will emphasize that detail that you brought up, Dave, because some people, have taken the shot and now they're realizing what happened, and it's not hopeless.
No.
If you've only taken one, don't take any more. It is known that the more often you take that, it's just a cumulative effect. So if you've already gone there, or your loved ones or neighbors or whatever, friends, co-workers have taken it, and all of a sudden they're starting to realize what this really is about, there are remedies. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Dave, because there are. And there's ways that they can take care of themselves, etc. And the sooner they start, the better.
Yes. So, well, I haven't seen anybody else that says they want to call in or make any comments, but if you do, the number to call in number is 515-605-9356. Again, that's 515-605-9356, and you can either, there is one person that has come up. We'll go to that person, and it's area code 203. They said they would like to come on the air, so here we are. You're coming up. Let's see here. Area code 203, you're on the air. What can we help you with?
Hi, yes. Good evening. I'm Peter from Connecticut.
Okay.
I am curious about, did President Biden actually take a vaccine shot?
He has, but we don't know what he took. We don't know if he just took a saline solution one. I haven't seen any reports about that, but everything is saying yes, he has. But here's what's interesting. The federal government is mandating get the shots, get the shots, get the shots, but none of the federal government employees, nobody in the CDC, and nobody in the FDA is required to have the vaccines. And yet they're the ones that are all pushing it out there. So, yeah.
Wow.
But no, I haven't. I did see a photo some months ago that he did, but we don't know what was in it. He may have just gotten a saline, solution. So.
What do you make of the fact that a lot of people resist getting the shot? Are they in the know, or are they just afraid?
I think it's both. I think there's a strong number of people that are in the know because they're watching the reports that are coming out from the alternate media. I mean, we have always been told in the medical industry, get a second opinion. Get a second opinion from your doctors.
Absolutely.
Go find another second opinion. You notice nobody's saying get a second opinion on the shot. None of the mainstream media or the what I call the pushing medical people are saying get a second opinion. And those who are getting their second opinions, they're seeing the other side of the story and they're seeing the truth coming out of what's in it. Because you see, when you go and you ask the people the shots, what's in it? What's the ingredients? They can't tell you. None of them can tell you the ingredients that are in it because it's not being produced. So, okay?
Thank you.
All right, okay. We got another caller now coming up, and that caller is from area code 214. Area code 214, you're on the air. What can we help you with?
Hey, Dave, this is Bob in Dallas.
Hey, how are you?
Friend. All right. Hey, since you were talking about Cliff High, also his buddy, Big Swear, he's been talking about the, end of September is the fiscal year, and he's expecting a crash, and at the same time, he's saying that your cash or money will be worthless, so buy silver.
He has said that. That is a possibility. All I know is that Big Swear, I don't trust what he says because he's always made massive projections, and about 80% of the time he's wrong. so I'm a little bit cautious with what Big Swear has to say. He has good intentions, but I also know that Cliff said, yes, it is a possibility. If the collapse comes and the economy falls apart, you basically want to pull your money out of the bank and get into something that's hard assets, mainly gold or silver. Because who knows what's going to come out of this. Gold and silver will hold their value when everything else could fall apart. That is a potential. That's a potential. Just be prepared, folks. Be prepared. Watch the signs that are coming. Okay. Anything else, Bob?
Yep. Yeah, a couple more things.
Sure.
Also, Cliff High in one of his videos said that to counteract the shot, take C60
Yes.
and vitamin D.
Yes. Take lots of vitamin D, and I take C60. I got introduced to C60 from Cliff about 3 years ago. It's a very, very positive health item. Cliff has been a strong proponent of it for a long time, and I think you can follow Cliff on it, and he'll explain what the value of C60 taking it.
Yep. Also, I can't wait for us to have some money so I can have my own slaves and buy a wife and kids.
You'll have your own slaves working for you now, huh?
Yep.
That's
and
right.
Buy a wife and kids.
That's right. Okay. Okay.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
See you later. Glad you called. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Bye.
Okay. Okay. Well, Blanca, I don't see anybody else. Do you?
No, I don't.
Well,
Always nice to hear from Bob. He brings
it is. I've got this little short 3-minute video, folks, that is absolutely, I love the story. Let's watch this, okay?
People think we're more divided as a country now than we've been in a long time. I know it can seem that way, but when I was a little kid in 1969, the Vietnam War was tearing the country apart. And they'd shot John F. Kennedy, and they'd shot Bobby Kennedy, they'd shot Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And there was the Manson family and the Zodiac killer, and it just felt like the whole country had lost its mind. My father, who'd grown up in the Depression, well, his faith in humanity was just at a low ebb. And the two of us that June were driving from LA to Oakland in our old 1960 Oldsmobile, and the water pump blew out south of Bakersfield. And so this was long before cell phones, so we were going to have to hoof it like 9 or 10 miles into town when this young cowboy pulls up in a flatbed and offers to tow us in. And all my dad had on him for money was this old Chevron gas card, so he kept telling this young fella, I can't pay you. And the young cowboy's looking at him like, I wasn't going to charge you. So he rolls us into town, and this is a Sunday, so nothing's open. So he has to go get his mechanic friend to open up his garage, and my dad says, hey, listen, I don't have any money. And the mechanic says, we'll work something out. And then they all realize they don't have the actual parts, so now they got to go roust out the local auto parts store owner, and they bring him down. And my father's like, okay, we need to talk about how this is all going to get settled, because he just couldn't imagine anybody being this trusting about the money. So the cowboy says, look, if it make you feel better, I got a bunch of watermelons I need to get loaded onto my flatbed, and it's pretty hot work, and if you help me out, I'll pay for the part. So next thing you know, we're all unloading watermelons from inside a rail car. That's about 140 degrees. And 90 minutes later, we are soaked in sweat. And up rolls the car, just running like a top. And my dad says, I really don't know how to thank you, fellas, and for this good turn. And we're turning to go, and the mechanic gets this look on his face and says, whoa, where do you think you're going? And you could see on my father's face just all the fear and distrust come to the surface. He's stiffened like a leopard. And the mechanic says, no. My wife's going to make us all Sunday dinner, and you and the boy can get a shower and a clean shirt, and it'll make the drive easier for all of us. So we sat down for a dinner of fried chicken from the chicken right over there, and corn on the cob from the corn right over there. Man, I got to tell you, we'll never have a meal that good ever again. And my dad didn't say maybe 3 words the whole drive, but when we got home, I got into bed, and I was just about to turn off the light, and he stops in the doorway and he says to me, no matter what you see in the movies or on TV or you read in the papers, you listen to me. That's how people really are. And about a month later, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. So, keep the faith.
I love that little video. It's on my Facebook page if you want to watch it again. And that is true. We are in a world that's basically been run by those that we call the cabal, the globalists. But underneath all that, there's a massive amount of humanity that is good people. And this is our time. This is our era where that gets to start coming forward. So, Okay. Well, Blanca, anything else then that you would like to share with us before we call it an evening tonight?
No, just again, stay strong, keep your heart strong, keep your mind clear, and you're not alone.
You're not.
Ever. We're
You're
never
not alone, folks. Okay. So, I don't have any plans to not be anywhere. I mean, where I will be gone next week, so hopefully we'll have a program next week. So, again, thanks you for joining us tonight, folks, and have an absolutely wonderful week. Okay. Bye-bye.